What's up everyone, it's Kelly and today I've got a very exciting swatch review for you. It's been a really long time since I've done a small brand spotlight and tried a new to me indie brand, but I've been testing this one out for a while based on your recommendations and I am super excited to finally share with you. So today we are talking about Clionadh Cosmetics and I am partnering with them on this video. I was actually going to just do a regular review, but I ended up going a little bit overboard and swatching a ton of the polishes because I was super excited about them. But before we get into this massive swatch and review, I do want to talk a little bit about the brand if you haven't ever heard of them. So Clionadh Cosmetics is an independent nail polish and makeup brand. They're actually based out of Canada, but they are available internationally. And all of their polishes are 10 free, meaning they are free of 10 of the potentially harmful ingredients that can be found in nail polish. They're vegan, meaning they do not use any animal derived ingredients. And they're also cruelty free, meaning they do not test their products on animals. So even though this brand is new to me, they're actually not new. They've been around since 2016. They were started by two sisters and it's actually a really interesting backstory. I'll link their little about us in the description. But basically they started off doing makeup cosmetics with a real focus on inclusivity and then they expanded out into nail polish as well. And I think the thing that really sold me on this brand and made me very excited to try them is that they actually have makeup that matches their nail polish. And if you watch my channel, you know that I'm a huge fan of matching my makeup with my nail polish, with my outfit. So the idea that you could get the same exact color in both makeup version and in nail polish version is stunning to me. And yes, I am wearing one of them right now on my eyes and on my nails, and we'll talk about it at the end of the video. But yeah, they actually have a huge variety in different nail polish types. They specialize in multichromes and these sort of like iridescent multicolored kind of shades, but they also have regular creams, shimmers, toppers, magnetics. So like I said, I was originally going to do a video on their Slickadelic line, which is these sort of oil slick multichrome magnetic polishes, but I really wanted to try some of their other finishes as well, so I'm just going to go ahead and do a huge swatch and review for you. So we'll start off with a bunch of the magnetics. I'll show you them in the cat eye style as well as the velvet style, and then we can get into some of their finishes, and then we can talk a little bit more about my thoughts on the brand, my experience using them so far, and we can get into pricing and availability and all that good stuff. So roll the swatch footage. All right, so starting off with the magnetics, and of course I have to start off with Psilocybin because this is arguably Clionadh's most popular polish. If you know them, you probably have heard of this one, and it is, I believe, their original Slickadelic polish. And what's really interesting about these is that all of their magnetics, when you look at them unmagnetized, you can kind of see a lot of colors going on in them individually, but once you magnetize them, everything kind of separates into different colors, and I think it's just really cool. Honestly, very hard to describe, but basically it's like a multichrome on a multichrome. So I'm starting off with the cat eye style, and you can see the bottom unmagnetized layer becomes this multichrome green to blue shift, and then the magnetic layer is this pink to yellow shift, and it is just so stunning. It's just really vibrant color combinations, and it really has such a nice formula. Honestly, I probably could have gotten away with magnetizing the second coat, but just for consistency, I do like to magnetize a third coat when I have two coat opacity. And then I'm also trying it in the velvet style. The way I like to do it is pull all of the magnetic pigment to the top. So I just kind of hover the magnet around my nail, and you can see the whole top layer looks like that pink to yellow shift. But as I move my nail around at more extreme angles, you can actually see the underneath looks like a totally different color, which is that blue-green. So it's just a really fun contrast. So after Psilocybin came out and it was super popular, they actually came out with this Psilo Siblings trio. So the next three polishes are that, and they're basically just variations of Psilocybin. So this first one is Baeocystin, which, let me tell you, I am Googling all of these names for pronunciation, so please don't judge me if I get them wrong, but I am trying my best. I do love when a polish makes me sound smart, but if I mispronounce it, then it doesn't make me sound that smart. But anyway, this one is sort of a green variation of Psilocybin. So looking at it pre-magnetizing, I felt like I was seeing a lot of this coppery kind of brown color, but once I separated it all out into the cat eye style, it really transformed. So the base is this gorgeous green. You can see little hints of blue, but it's more of like a turquoise, and there's even little bits of gold and yellow as well. And then the top layer is that more coppery orange into pink. So it's very similar, but it also has a totally totally different vibe. So I feel like you can see a little bit better when I magnetize it in the velvet style, just how different the color is, especially the magnetic pigment, because I do think that it gives a lot more of like a fiery reddish look rather than that like pinky yellow kind of tone. So it's really interesting to see how a similar color can end up being so different. Then we've got Psilocin, and this one is the cooler toned version. So this one has more of a bluish purpley kind of tinge to it, and again, once I'm applying it unmagnetized, you can really just see a whole mishmash of colors, but I feel like when I'm looking at it, I do see a lot of purple and blue and little flecks of turquoise and stuff like that. So again, the formula on this one, absolutely amazing, really nice coverage in 2 coats. I'm magnetizing the third, and again, I'm going to start off with the cat eye style, and once I separated out those layers, you could see that that bottom layer was that really gorgeous turquoise into blue into purple, and then the top layer is more of that pinky fuchsia into orange. So again, it's a very slight difference, but it really does change the look of the color so much, and it's just really fun to see all of these side by side, which you will see in the comparison at the end, but they really do feel very different from each other. And of course, you know, I'm a nail polish addict, so I will always recommend getting them all because I think they're all different enough. But it's kind of fun to be able to pick the types of undertones or the types of colors that you prefer and just have that option, you know? So here it is in the velvet style. Again, just pulled all of that magnetic pigment to the top, and you can see it's more of that pinky fuchsia kind of color into orange, but then you can also see that gorgeous turquoise blue color coming in at the bottom, and it's just a really fun contrast again. Then moving on, we have a couple more of the magnetics that are just a sampling from different collections. This one is Thermonuclear, and it's really interesting. It's very different from the ones that I've shown you so far. First of all, the opacity on this one was unreal. I definitely would be able to magnetize this one in 2 coats, but just for consistency's sake, I am going to show you what it looks like on a third. But even unmagnetized, I thought this one was absolutely stunning. I love that you can see all of these little glitter hollow particles coming through, and it looks like this blackened base that has the multichrome shimmer that shifts from the pink into the orange. But once I magnetized it, especially in that cat eye style, it totally became this cosmic galaxy sort of manicure. That black base is totally packed with hollow pigment, so it kind of looks like a starry night sky, and then you almost have like a little nebula going through it with that multichrome orange into pink. So absolutely stunning this way. I was so curious to see what it would look like in the velvet style, and again, as usual, I like to just pull all of that magnetic pigment to the top. I don't know why, it's just something that looks kind of like marble to me. Like it's got a 3-dimensional look, so when you're looking at it head on, it really just mostly looks like whatever the magnetic pigment color is, but then as you shift around, it looks like a totally different manicure. So I always like to think that it kind of looks like 2 manicures in one. Next up we have And Fire, and this one is another magnetic shade. Again, a little bit different, especially from the Psilocybin ones, and this one is actually more of this like rosy jelly base that has little flakies in it. It was actually kind of hard to tell that there were flakies in it unmagnetized unless they were hitting the light. So it's definitely a very soft and subtle look without the magnetization. But once I magnetized it, it transformed into a totally different polish. And I feel like that's kind of the theme for these polishes, because sometimes you can tell before you magnetize what a polish is going to be. With these, some of them, I just had no clue what to expect, and I was totally blown away. So this one became this gorgeous reddish pink jelly base with this cool toned iridescent shimmer as well as warm iridescent flakies, and then we had this like silvery rose gold magnetic pigment coming through. So absolutely stunning. I was really impressed that even though it had that sheer jelly formula, it still covered up my visible nail line really well, and it was actually really fun to magnetize in the velvet style as well, because this sort of whitish pigment to me always looks a little bit velvety already. So I especially love magnetizing it this way because, I don't know, it kind of looks like a textured vibe to me. So I thought that was really fun, and then as I move my nail around, you can see that like pink and blue shimmer going on, which is so fun. And then we have another shade that is, I believe, another one of the Psilo siblings. I don't know why I didn't put it in the beginning, probably because I couldn't find a pronunciation guide on this one, so I'm just gonna give it a try, which is Norpsilocin. Nope. Norpsilocin. But anyway, this is another one of those polishes that, looking at it unmagnetized, it just looks kind of like a whole bunch of colors at once, and then once you magnetize it, it becomes completely different from what you would expect. Again, really amazing formula. It almost reminds me, all of the ones like these kind of remind me of TV static, but in the best way before you magnetize them. And then once you do, they're totally transformative. So this one, once I transformed it, it became so stunning. Again, very cosmic manicure. We have this gorgeous cobalt blue base. We have this pink copper orange multichrome shimmer running throughout, and it is just so stunning. I love how deep it is. I'm so impressed and surprised because I really expected it to be more of like a pinky purpley vibe, but I think this is just so cool. So once I magnetized it in the velvet style, I actually ended up liking it, I think even a little bit more, just because of how strong that contrast is between the blue and the orange. And I thought it was just such a sharp and interesting manicure. Sometimes these really look like natural gradients. Like you can see when I'm kind of pushing my nail down a little bit, it looks like the cuticle area of my nail is like this coppery red color, and then the bottom area of my nail is this like bluish purple. So I thought that was really cool. Definitely a fun polish, and honestly, I feel like all of these would be really interesting to see in a Skittle manicure, just all of them in one mani, because I feel like it would be so interesting to see how they kind of like subtly shift next to each other while having the same qualities but in different colors, if that makes sense. And then we have the shade Multiverse, and this is another one that has a sort of jelly-like base with that white silvery magnetic shimmer running throughout. So this one, looking at it unmagnetized, it's more of like this soft periwinkle purple color, and then we have these little flecks of iridescent sparkle running throughout, and some of them are a little bit bigger, some of them are a little bit smaller. Again, I applied 2 coats for full coverage and then applied a third to magnetize, and this is another one that I think is just really pretty unmagnetized as well because of those subtle little flakes. But once I magnetized it, I was so impressed with the color and the jelly and just everything that was going on in there that I couldn't see unmagnetized. So it actually became this gorgeous purple base. We have these iridescent flakies that look almost greenish, and then we also have an iridescent flaky that looks like a reddish copper color, plus that silver white magnetic stripe. And same when I did it in the velvet style. Again, that whitish kind of shimmer always just looks very velvety to me, which I think is so fun, and it just left the underneath layer to have all of the shimmer and colors, and I just thought that was a really cool layering experience. Next up, we have the 6 polishes that are part of their Tripedelic line, which is also magnetics, but these ones are a little bit different because they are multichrome flakies. So this was actually what my original video was going to be about, but as you can see, I went overboard because I fell in love with the brand. But these ones are also going to be a little bit difficult to pronounce names, but I am trying my best with Google and their questionable pronunciations. This first one apparently is pronounced Inacybe, and this one is a gorgeous green multichrome. You can see it shifting from a foresty kind of green into a more lime green, and I'm actually starting off by magnetizing these in the velvet style because when it comes to these bigger flaky particles, I do find that the cat eye style is just a little bit more subtle on the nail, so it's not as sharp of a line. It still ends up looking really cool and three-dimensional, but I do tend to prefer these in the velvet style. I think it just really highlights all of the color and multichrome flaky and shimmer in there. Although I will say, now looking at all of them, I might prefer some of these in the cat eye style, but the beauty is that you really don't have to decide because you can just wear it whichever way you want. So this one I thought was especially gorgeous in the cat eye style because it really deepened up that background color into a black base, and it really highlighted these beautiful pink iridescent flakies while also showing that green multichrome magnetic stripe. Then we have the shade Conacybe, and this one looks very similar to the last polish that I just showed you, which I will not attempt to pronounce again, but there are some key differences here. So this is another green multichrome flaky magnetic, and clearly the brand is after my heart because they are killing it with the greens, and I absolutely love to see it. But this one actually has a little bit more of a warmer green to it. You can still see a little bit of that bluish toned green into that lime, more yellowy green, but I would say that this one does feel a little bit more of that yellowy toned, and the iridescent flakies in here are more of a reddish tone rather than that pinky fuchsia kind of color. So I feel like it does give a warmer look to it. Again, just like the original Psilocybin polishes, I think it's really fun to see a polish with different variations to it where you can kind of pick which undertones you prefer. So in this case, there's like the cooler version and the warmer version. Personally, I love them both because I just don't think there are enough green nail polishes in the world, but I do appreciate having the options. And again, I thought this one was especially stunning in the cat eye style because it kind of pulled everything into the center and it left behind this beautiful deep base with this like orangey, coppery, red flaky. And I don't know, it just reminded me of like the leaves changing for fall. Then we have the shade Gallerina, and this one I was super excited about because I could tell instantly that this was going to be a really interesting color shift. So looking at it before magnetizing, you can see it's this really intense yellow gold flaky, but you can also see these blue flakes running throughout, which is so interesting. Honestly, love the way that this looks unmagnetized. It kind of reminds me of like Hidden Treasure Under the Sea or something, but of course I had to see what would happen when I magnetized it, and I was super excited. Doing it in the velvet style really just enhanced that yellow color and kind of just brought it up to the center, which made it just look really vibrant and gorgeous. And the underneath layer was super blue, but this was another one that I just ended up loving in the cat eye style. So maybe I spoke too soon saying I tend to prefer these in the velvet style, but this one, once I did the cat eye style of magnetization on it, it left me with all of this gorgeous blue flaky base, and then we had this stunning golden yellow stripe running across it. And again, there's something very oceanic about it, something like the sunlight hitting the water or treasure underwater. I just thought it was so cool. Then we have the shade Pinulus, and this one actually reminded me a lot of Psilocybin just in terms of the color and the combination going on here. So before magnetization, you could see definitely a flaky bomb of a polish. We've got this gorgeous pink to yellow multi-chromatic color, and you can see a lot of different colors of flaky coming through just kind of as I move my nail around. It almost looks like it's shifting, but I feel like I could see a lot of green and blue flecks in there. So starting off with magnetizing it in the velvet style, and it really just pulled up all of that multichrome magnetic pigment, which I think is just so fun. Again, kind of giving that sort of marbly look, and on camera, I feel like it's kind of hard to show just how many colors you can see, and it does sometimes look like it's just like half and half on my nail. But if you can see, as I move around my nail from side to side, that color shifts as well. So when you're looking at your hand head on, you're gonna see a couple of colors, but it's not that it separates into pink on one side and yellow on the other. It's just that it's this duochromy way that every which way you look at it, it's gonna be a little bit different. So again, trying it out in the cat eye style, and this was where it really reminded me of that original polish, because once I did that, I could see this blue to green flaky shift underneath, which I thought was so gorgeous. It's just like a fun flaky version of it. So I thought that was a really cool callback. Then we have the shade Foliatina, and this one is another multichrome magnetic. So looking at it head on, you can see a lot of that fuchsia color into a little bit of a coppery kind of shade. And again, I can see a lot of this sort of blue to green, bigger flaky in there. So it's really interesting how sometimes the colors can get a little bit blended up when you're using magnetics, but with flakies, you can really see those individual pieces really well, and it ends up being gorgeous, even unmagnetized. But of course, I do love to magnetize. I feel like I'm in a magnetic phase right now. So once I did it in the velvet style, it pulled all of that fuchsia color up, and I think it actually really brightened it a lot too. So I think this one ended up having a little bit more of like a blackened base because it ended up being this very bright fuchsia into coppery kind of color. And then once again, magnetizing it in the cat eye style, and this one just ended up giving me that beautiful blackened base. You could see a lot of that greenish flaky flaky coming through and all of that magnetic pigment just pulled to the center. And again, it has a very cosmic sort of look to it. And then the last of the magnetic polishes that I'm going to be showing you today is this one, Pluteus. And this is the one I was the most excited about, to be honest, because I just love this color combination and I loved it magnetized in both styles. I just have such a fun time with these like turquoise to purple kind of shades, which is exactly what this is. And you can also see a lot of depth of color with the little flakies in the background. Sometimes they look a little bit peachy orange, but that also might just be my reflection in them because they're so shiny. But trying it out in the velvet style first, it just pulled all of this gorgeous teal color to the front. You could also see that blend from the teal into the purple where it became this gorgeous cobalt blue kind of shade. And then I just love this one in the cat eye style as well. It was just so vibrant, and again, it kind of has a cosmic sort of look to it, but this one also felt a little like retro to me, probably just because of the color combination, but I thought it was absolutely gorgeous with that deep background and that sort of pinky, yellow, orangey, peachy, flaky going on with the turquoise to purple magnetic stripe. I just thought it was so cool. Okay, so now let's get into some of the other finishes that Clionadh has to offer because they really do have so many different types of polishes. This one is called Smolder Light, and it is a gorgeous multi-chromatic shade that shifts from this fuchsia pinky color into a coppery orange, but this time it is just a regular formula. It is not magnetic, but what I love about this one is that it does seem to have that blackened base, so it really gives such an intensity on the nail. It almost looks like a deeper, darker color, but then when the light hits it, it looks so vibrant. Next up, we have the shade Liquidus, and this is actually what I am wearing on my nails right now and in the intro and outro, and I'm also wearing the matching eyeshadow, which has the same name on the Clionadh website, and this one I was so excited for. I think it's absolutely stunning. It is a black jelly base that is packed with these slightly larger shimmer flakies that are multi-chromatic, so they shift between blue and purple, and you can also see a little bit more color in between, so there's like almost like a little coppery fleck going on in there too, which I thought was absolutely gorgeous. And this one was a little bit sheer on 2 coats, so I ended up doing 3, but it does have a thin formula, so it doesn't feel like 3 coats on my nails right now. It honestly feels like an easy formula to work with, and it gives such a beautiful blackened color into, but I feel like it's also definitely possible to wear as a 2-coater or even as a topper. Then we have another multi-chrome polish. This one is Sunken Treasure, and this one's a little bit different because it not only has this flash reactive pigment in it, but it also is made with 24 karat gold flakes. So this one, honestly, in the bottle, you could not appreciate how stunning this shade is. This truly looks like treasure on the nails. It's so beautiful. We have this deep blue to purple base shimmer, and then we've got all of that exciting flaky finish going on in there, and it's perfect opacity in 2 coats. It's so shiny. It's really eye-catching. Then we have the shade Step on a Crack. This was an especially fun one, and I really like the name because it honestly just looks like kind of a shattered polish, if that makes sense. So it's really interesting. We have this silver hollow sort of base, and then within it we have this multi-chromatic flake that shifts from green to blue to purple. So I ended up doing 3 coats to wear it on its own, and it's hard to see on my camera the hollow, but you can see around my cuticle area where it's a little bit out of focus that it actually has that linear hollow shimmer in there. But I feel like this would be so fun to experiment with as a topper, and I also think it looks really gorgeous on its own. I think having that combination of the deep multi-chrome plus the very light linear hollow almost gives the effect of a crackle manicure, or just like I said, in general it feels like a very shattered kind of manicure, and I just think that's very cool and grungy. Next up we have the shade Hippocampus, and I couldn't resist sharing this one because I think this is such a stunning color. It's almost like this grayed out mix of teal and sage green, and it has this gorgeous iridescent flaky shimmer running throughout that shifts from this fuchsia pink into orange, and again it's just this really intense contrast that makes it look so special. And the formula on this was so opaque, it was really easy to apply, and you can also see as I move my nail around there's almost like these little teeny tiny flecks of blue iridescent in there as well. So it's just all these little extra layers of different contrasting colors that make these polishes look special to me. Then we have the shade Cerebral Cortex, and this is another one that's just a shimmer that has a gorgeous iridescent duochrome sort of shift in there. So we've got this slightly warmer gray base, and then we have a shifting shimmer that goes from this soft pink into an intense green. And I don't know, this just feels like a perfect alien color to me. I think it's so fun. It's such a twist on a neutral gray shade, so I can't get enough of it. Again, super opaque, super easy formula, and something that I would probably wear as a neutral, even though it's probably not considered a neutral at all. Now onto some more of the jelly kind of polishes. This one is Statue Garden, and this is another really soft sage green kind of base color, and this one is packed with an iridescent pink to orange shimmer. And this one is a jelly formula, so you can see in 2 coats. It honestly looks really stunning. You could still see the visible nail line, but it wasn't patchy at all. I ended up applying a third just to see how coverage could get, and I do feel like it softened up that visible nail line a little bit more. It gave a little bit more depth to that greenish color, and it still felt very soft. It kind of reminds me a little bit of sea glass in that way. I feel like it would be especially gorgeous with a matte top coat over it, but I also like it on its own. Then we have the shade Apparition, and I don't know what it is about these greens that is just speaking to me, but it is making me love the brand even more just watching my own swatches because I want to wear all of these. But this one is a jelly green base that has an iridescent blue shimmer running throughout, and again, I just think it's so fun. I thought it was really pretty in 2 coats for sort of a softer look, but you can build it up with more coverage, and it did cover up my visible nail line in the 3rd coat. It gave a little bit more intensity to that blue and green color coming through, and I don't know, there's just something so vibrant about an iridescent blue shimmer that just makes it look a little bit more elevated than a regular metallic shimmer to me. Next up we have the shade Dreamscape, and this is another sheer shimmery polish, but this one does have bigger particles in it, so I would almost call it a flaky, but they're still super teeny tiny, and this one is in a more classic Kelly color. So we've got this bluish periwinkle base, and then we have an iridescent shimmer that shifts from pink into green, and because it has those larger particles, it does hit the light a little bit differently as I move my nail around, and it gives a very sparkly effect. So again, loved the way that it looked in 2 coats for a softer look, but I could build it up to 3 coats for a more opaque look and just to give a little bit more intensity of color on there. I also feel like all of these jellies would be really fun to experiment with as toppers, so maybe I should do a short on that. Then we have this shade Spilled Salt, and this one's a really fun one. I feel like it's probably meant to be a topper, but I thought it was just really cool looking in the bottle, and I wanted to see how it applied on its own. So we have this blue iridescent shimmer, and then we also have these larger chips of silver holo. So it ends up giving a really multifaceted sort of effect, and honestly, I thought it looked so cool in 2 coats. Again, very even coverage while still being sheer, and then when I applied the 3rd coat, I feel like it really punched up the intensity of that blue iridescent shimmer. You could also see a little bit of purple in there, and I just love those sort of diamond chip flecks, as I always call them. They're definitely very silvery, but when the light hits them, you can see a whole rainbow of sparkle. Okay, clearly I got very excited when it came to the cooler tones, but I do have some warmer shades to show you as well. This one is Smedge Haze, and this is another jelly base. So we've got this actually really interesting, almost brick red kind of base color, and then within it we have these larger iridescent flaky particles that shift from green into blue. And again, it's such an interesting contrast. I think it's such a fun color. It almost feels like a neutral base because of that red. It kind of feels like a traditional nail color, but then you throw in that highly contrasting shimmer and it totally changes the look. And this was another one that I loved in 2 coats. I was curious to try it in a 3rd, and I think that made the color a lot deeper and a little bit more dramatic. So I feel like it turned from a neutral kind of shade into a more vampy color. So again, it does feel pretty different based on how many coats you do, but you can wear it in either. And then we have the shade Cephalopod, which is just a really pretty soft sheer pink shade that has an iridescent shimmer running running throughout that primarily looks green to blue, but it's a very subtle coloring. I feel like it's just like one of those palette cleansing kind of manicures, good for an event, good for a wedding, good for really any sort of subtle vibe, but you still get a little bit of exciting sparkle. Then we have the shade Monarch, which is a really gorgeous peachy orange color that has this gold to orange iridescent shimmer in here, and I feel like this is a type of shade that I tend to lean towards a lot, especially in the spring and summer, because it reminds me so much of warm skies and summer sunsets, and I think this one is no exception. It gave me perfect coverage in 2 coats. It's really vibrant and bold, but it's also really easy to apply, and I have a feeling I'm going to be wearing this one a lot this spring and summer. This next one I honestly just had to get because it was called Armadillo's Night Out, and I thought that was just such a funny name. And one time when I was talking in my sleep, I kept on yelling to my partner that I am an armadillo. So I thought that was a great name, but it actually happens to be a great polish as well. And it does happen to represent me pretty well because it is a purple hollow jelly. And I feel like that's just the perfect Kelly nail polish. So I guess I really am an armadillo. But this one, it does look a little bit on the warmer side. I think that's mostly because of my very warm undertones. So it might look a little bit cooler toned based on what your undertones are. But again, we have these gorgeous silvery chips of hollow in there that sparkle so beautifully, and because there's these sort of irregular sizes, they catch the light and look very, very sparkly. And then we have the shade Salem, and this one is actually a black jelly hollow, but it's a little bit different from the ones that I have used or have in my collection before, because this one is actually gold hollow particles, which I think really changes up the look. It's a little bit more subtle on camera, but I feel like it's definitely a warmer vibe, and in 2 coats it really highlights how warm it is, because without that intense black opacity, it almost looks like a very deep warm brown kind of color. But you can also do another coat just to make it that deeper black while still having all of those layers of hollow shine through. It's super, super sparkly. It's gorgeous. I feel like this is a perfect Halloween shade, but it's also a really good any time of year black. Okay, I promise we're almost done here. I just have 2 toppers that I absolutely need to show you because I'm in love with both of them. This first one is called Stretch O'Clock, and it is a black and white matte glitter topper. So the glitters themselves are not metallic and shiny, but it does come in a shiny base, and we've got all of these different shapes and sizes of black and white, and I don't know, it just reminds me of like an epoxy floor or like stoneware, and I love this type of finish. I love black and white glitters. I think this is just so fun, and you can also definitely play around with doing placement, but it just applies very easily, so couldn't get enough of this one. Definitely going to be wearing it over a ton of different colors. And last but definitely not least, we have Golden Prairie, which is a 24 karat gold flaky topper, and this is another topper that I am just already obsessed with. It is stunning. It is so soft and smooth. I love these little gold flakes. I think they're so cool, and I always love to break these types of toppers out for special occasions, so very excited to have this one. I think it's actually a really good price as well, but we'll talk about price at the end of the video. But yeah, I just think it's absolutely gorgeous. It feels very high-end and classy, but you can definitely play around and make it look a little bit more artistic. I'm actually imagining now doing placement with this on like a crystal sort of manicure or like a stone kind of manicure. I think that would be so fun. So anyway, here's all the polishes that I just reviewed. Like I said, not one collection. In fact, we've got quite a variety here, and if you managed to get this far, I'm very impressed because I know that I kind of went on and on, but like I said, I'm just very excited about these colors. It's a very new to me brand, but it definitely feels like a very special find. I think that it's very clear that the brand has a good handle on color theory and different color combinations and kind of mixing and matching different things that you wouldn't necessarily expect and layering different types of pigment in order to make what they want, and like having different types of things in there like flakies and shimmer and hollow and glitters and all that sort of stuff, just combining it in a very good way. Clearly I'm not the person that would be good at combining things. But the way that they do it is very artistic. I'm very impressed with it. And I think that just the colors in general are all colors that I really lean towards. So it definitely feels like a brand that is aligned with my sort of style. So I appreciate that as well. But in terms of quality, I thought they were really amazing. I think that the magnetics were really responsive. I think that the formulas in general were very easy and workable. It's a very beginner-friendly brand, and all of the more sheer polishes are very consistent and smooth across the nail. They don't feel patchy at all, even if you want to wear them in less coats. And I think the toppers applied super smoothly and easily without having to do specific placement, but they do feel like they're polishes that you can do placement with. So yeah, I think that's enough of my ranting. Let's get into more of the details about the brand. So yeah, those are the polishes that I have tried out from Clionadh so far. And like I said, this isn't a collection. This is just a sampling of the different types of finishes and colors that they have to offer. And I have to say, I have totally fallen in love with this brand. I love their use of color. I love the way that they manage to do these color combinations that feel both very unusual, but also work really well together. And I also think there's going to be a lot of opportunities for mixing and matching. It seems like they really specialize in doing things that work well together, especially having like the matching eye makeup and nail polish kind of thing. But I feel like the colors just flow nicely together as well. I also really enjoyed these formulas. I found them very easy, beginner friendly to work with, and especially having that wide flat brush that has a rounded tip, I feel like it just made application super easy. So I wasn't struggling with it at all. And I feel like this brand is just such a perfect look at how I feel an independent brand should be. Just a really fun mix of just experimental colors and finishes, trying different things, but also sticking to some of the classics. I just feel like they do a really great job with balancing all of that. So really quick before we get into pricing and availability, I do want to talk about their makeup. Like I said, I am wearing a matching eyeshadow with my nail polish right now. They're both the same color, the same multichromatic pigment, and I think that is just so cool. That is something that I have always wanted in a brand, so I was so excited when I heard about that. And aside from having individual multichromatic eyeshadows, they also have these palettes, and they have a really big variety as well, so it's not just super shimmery multichromatic eyeshadows. They have some more neutral kind of vibes with just little pops of color. They also have some really intense, sparkly, iridescent kind of shades. And I also just want to take a moment to appreciate the packaging on these, because I feel like everything about this brand is so well thought out. One thing in particular that really got me was this Deep Sea Treasures palette that was packaged in a little treasure chest. How cute is that? I think that's just so fun. And the same does apply for their nail polish. All their polishes come in little boxes, and they do seem to be different based on the type of formula you're getting or the type of collection. So that's just a really cool little detail. I love when brands put in that little extra effort, because I don't know, it kind of feels like opening a present for yourself. But back to their makeup really quick, I noticed that they have an eyeshadow quiz on their website, which I thought was a really cool little addition. So if you're kind of overwhelmed with all of the options, basically you can just take this quiz, and it's not just what colors you prefer, it also helps you choose based on your level of experience with using eyeshadows, what kind of finishes you tend to go towards, if you're oily or dry, and then they give you this personalized list of recommendations, which kind of takes all of the overwhelming feelings out of it. So I thought that was really cool as well. But yeah, clearly I'm very excited about this brand. I can't believe I waited so long to try them, because they are right up my alley. Just everything about them I feel like is perfect for my vibe. Just all of the matchingness, all of the fun with eyeshadow colors, and all of the different combinations that they have with their nail polishes. It's just a really fun brand. So now let's get into pricing and availability. All of these polishes come in 11.5 milliliter bottles. Like I said, they do feature the wide flat brush that has a rounded tip, so application super easy. And the price actually does vary based on the different finish that you're getting. And all of the polishes are available on the Clionadh website. They are listed in Canadian dollars. So the range for polishes is around 13 to 17 Canadian dollars, which as of the filming of this video is about $9 to $12 USD, which I have to say is a very good deal, especially for these types of intense finishes. These Slickadelic polishes in particular, they retail for $16.99 Canadian, which is currently around $12 USD. So I feel like that's just a very good deal to get this intensity of finish and to also be able to try magnetics, which tend to be on the pricey side. And of course, I will link everything in the description below. You can check them out if you're interested. But yeah, As you can tell, I love this brand. I'm so excited that I finally got to try it out. And I also want to say thank you all for recommending Clionadh because they're definitely my type of brand. But I'm curious to hear from you. What do you think of them? Have you ever tried them before? If you haven't, would you let me know in the comments? We can chat about it. If you enjoy my swatch and review videos, please hit that like button. It really helps me out. It lets me know I'm doing a good job. And if you're not already subscribed to my channel, I would really appreciate if you could subscribe. I love you all, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye. Today's Would You Rather question is, would you rather have telekinesis, which is the ability to move things with your mind, or telepathy, which is the ability to read minds? This was a tough one. I feel like I keep flip-flopping back and forth because my initial thought is I would rather be able to read minds because then I could kind of sense what people are thinking and, you know, read the room a little bit better. But then I was thinking I shouldn't care so much what people think. Like, it's none of my business what people think of me, etc., etc. So then I was like, I could just move things with my mind. That would be super convenient, and then I'd never have to move. But then I was thinking, if I never move, then I'm going to get really lazy, and then I'm always going to want to move things with my mind instead of just getting up and doing things. So then I went back to mind reading, and now I'm just not sure. I love how much I overthink these imaginary scenarios, but I think my final answer is going to be, I wish I had the ability to read minds, but I would like it to be the type where I don't automatically read minds. Like, if I need to, I will go into someone's mind, but I don't want it to just like always mind thoughts be hitting me and then I'm like, people are thinking things about me, you know what I mean? Like, I think that's just a little overwhelming. Or I guess maybe I could do telekinesis, but I could only lift or like move around small things. I don't know, something, or actually that wouldn't be that convenient. Maybe if I could only move big things like a couch, because then I wouldn't have to like struggle. I'm struggling with this answer. So just let me know your answer, and I don't know, maybe I'll decide based on whoever has the best argument. And I will see you all in my next video. Bye.